Hello and welcome to the Rams Talk podcast. Today we're doing the preview show ahead of Charlton away this Saturday. If you're listening, it should be this Saturday unless the game's already happened. Then this preview is probably outdated. But we're joined here now with Joe from Charlton Live. Joe, how are you?
I'm good, and if it is outdated, if you have missed it on Saturday, just save it a week or so and listen to it again because you could basically carbon copy this for a couple of weeks' time, I'd imagine.
Yeah. You listen, Joe. You're becoming a regular on this podcast now with the interactions we've had. As I said before, you'd be a host on this show before you know it. But going into it, Charlton versus Derby. Obviously, we know what's happened recently. I'll let you take the floor on this one. Michael Appleton's left Charlton Athletic. What do you make of that? And describe his tenure at Charlton for us.
An unmitigated disaster, a car crash in slow motion, a mistake from the moment he was appointed. So as you can tell, I was a big fan. I think it was Monday that we did the preview maybe for Blackett Taylor. And in there, I said, I can't believe he hasn't been sacked. And 24 hours later, he was out the door. A manager that has very little personality on the sidelines. And we are a fan base that loves a connection with a manager. So though that was already a bit of a... he was on hiding to nothing there, especially following in Holden, who was very engaging with fans. But the football was dire. We were getting worse, not better. He had brought in 7 players in the window, and they were all coming in, and there was no change. If anything, it felt like we continued to get worse. So you were just looking at the situation going, how long are we going to let this go on for? And let's make no bones about it. The squad is, some people would say, is too good to go down, but the form is beyond relegation. We are only outside of the drop zone because Reading have had a 4-point deduction. Take that out the equation, we'd be level on points with a relegation zone. So when he's doing things like playing Alfie Man the right wing, top scorer in the division, when he moved him out there, we averaged less than 0.7 goals per game with him on the wing, and we were averaging a lot more within that. Louis Watson, who's came through your academy, is quality player and really is our only real creative force on the ball now that we've lost Corey. Couldn't get a game and was unfairly sidelined for players who I don't think are fit to wash his boots. So you sort of, and it's defensive mistakes as well. We would mark nothing. We couldn't find a player in our shirt. We couldn't find a player that was in the opposition shirt to mark or to pass to. So you're just watching it slowly getting worse. And it started off by, a good little run, but he had Chucks and Ike. And that guy's a difference maker at this level. Unfortunately, he's injured for 95% of the games, but the 5% he's fit for, he will get you wins and draws out of nothing. And that's what gave him that first sort of 6-game run. And then since then, it's been a real challenge. So we're in the hunt for a manager again. And I don't think anyone is particularly disappointed by that. I would say that it was the first time, that Tuesday night game was the first time I've ever seen a manager booed onto the field, out the tunnel. So it sort of told you how sort of desperate people were to see him gone. So new search, we'll see where we get to, but hopefully we can start building and have a good season next season, because we are so far off of the top of this division, and we don't want to be down where we are for much longer.
Yeah, I guess that ending point is, as I think the most probably one of the things that you've got to look to, isn't it? I know at the start of the season, from an outside point of view, you thought Charlton might build upon what they did last season. Obviously, it's unfortunately not panned out that way, and Michael Appleton hasn't had the best of times at Charlton this season by any means. I mean, I've got the stats here that you mentioned. Haven't won in 13 now, I think it is, and no clean sheet in 15. We'll see whether that's still the case after Derby have come to the Valley, to be honest. But looking at some of the odds now for new managers, obviously you can't rely on these at all, but Nathan Jones is 2-1, as well as Mark Warburton, Gary Rowett's up there, Alex Neil as well, Michael Duff, Neil Warnock, Pearson, Eustace. I mean, out of anyone you could bring in at the moment, who's most likely to come in, and who would you like to come in as manager at Charlton?
It's a difficulty, isn't it? Because we've been building a squad for a 3-5-2, which Appleton said himself he'd never coached before 3 weeks ago. So we're selling our wingers. We've brought in I think I might be rounding down slightly if I say 100 million midfielders, and we've got plenty of centre backs as well. So it feels like a 3 is the way we're going to go. So we need a manager that can get the best out of that system, and what is shaping up to be quite a physical, workman-like side. But I'm less attached to names. For me, it's about profile. We need a manager that can translate up. We've had so many managers, I think it's 15 in 15 years or something like that we've had now. And all of them have failed to manage at a level above where we are now after they've left us. And that is telling, because you're not losing a manager to go to a better club or a higher division than we have been in with that manager. So it tells you you're hiring people that are at this level. So we need someone that can go up the leagues. Obviously, Nathan Jones can do that. Duff has got a very good reputation. Looks like an individual who could go in that direction as well. Obviously, Rowett has been at the level above, but you also hear various things. So I think Rowett might not be an overwhelming favourite, although I think we have contacted him. But Nathan Jones would tick a lot of boxes for us on the basis of we love former Charlton managers. All of our previous promotions in the last 30 years have come under a former Charlton player. So it feels like that's the route that we need to go down if you just look at those basic statistics. So yeah, we'll see. I just want a manager that can take this club and build this club and move it forwards, as opposed to just a Michael Appleton journeyman who is not going to get your heart racing or make you want to rush down to the valley to watch the football anymore.
Yeah, I think that's exactly it. And Gary Rowett being mentioned, I think, is a manager who needs to get his own managerial career, in my opinion, back on track with the promotion. And obviously did so well at Burton Albion, got them so far, did well in the short time he was at Birmingham City. Derby County, we then had him, and he was, I would say, a decent enough success. I know he didn't get promotion, but with the squad that he had, we did very well to be in the playoffs and then almost get there. And I think he's done okay at Millwall, in my opinion, if we forget about Stoke as well in that mix. But a manager who knows what to do at this level to build a team into a promotion side. He did it with Burton Albion, then he changed and moved to Birmingham City. So yeah, I think he's a competent enough manager, and then obviously Nathan Jones. Everyone knows how good Nathan Jones has been in recent years, especially at Luton. And then once again, probably forget Stoke as well. It seems to be a thing with Stoke, and managers seem to be condemned to the Championship.
It's a bit of a basket case, it seems, in terms of managerial appointments. I think Pep would have a problem there.
Yeah, I think no one can really get it right at Stoke at the minute. I'm not sure who would go there to change that, but. We'll touch upon it. Obviously, if you don't know, Joe did the show with us about the signing of Corey Blackett-Taylor. Derby we seem to have spent a lot of, if not all of our budget on bringing him in. Are you worried about Corey Blackett-Taylor's return to the Valley? Obviously, I know he can play against Charlton. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I think that was agreed. Are you worried about his return?
Yeah, but interestingly, the formation that we seem to be playing, the way we played on Tuesday, would actually potentially stifle his style a little bit more, because we were very, very deep and compact, and he needs a bit of space in behind to operate in. But definitely our weakest element is our wing backs, and we don't have a particularly quick centre back to play on the right. So add those two things together, and he should have some joy against us. We also are shipping opportunities for fun. We should have been 4-0 down easily against Blackpool by half time, and that's been the story of our season for the last sort of 3 months. Even going back to the Reading game, which was in September, we should have been 3 or 4 down at half time in that game, and that's been a constant pattern. So he will get opportunities to score. We'll be desperate, I think, to try and keep him out. We also will know how to wind him up a little bit, so hopefully we can put him off his game. But any focus that we put on him is going to leave gaps for other players, and you've got plenty of weapons in your arsenal. So I'm expecting a team eventually to rip us apart by scoring 4, 5, 6, and I don't see why it won't be one of the teams this month, even with the renewed figure that we're putting into trying to keep a clean sheet, because we just don't seem to have that unit there yet.
Yeah, I can understand that. I think from a Derby perspective, Corey Blackett-Taylor, came in and then seemed that we'd signed him, but not decided to announce it until probably after the weekend when he signed. And then he came in against Reading, probably thrown him in a bit too early. He struggled a little bit there, and then we gave him the start yesterday. Obviously, recording this the Sunday night, we gave him the start against Cheltenham. And I think just the way Derby played, he looked lost, unfortunately. Probably a bit too early to have thrown him into the side in the position that he was in with the expectation on him. But that leads me on to my next point. Obviously, Derby's, I think from a Derby County perspective, our results don't match our performances. If I can put it lightly, I would say I think we were lucky to beat Cheltenham. Definitely, they played the better brand of football, but 2 moments of brilliance from the quality that we have. Like you said, it does us good more often than not when them players step up. But we'll talk about this January transfer window. I'm not too clued up on Charlton's business. Obviously, the only one I know is Corey Blackett-Taylor. How would you rate this window for Charlton?
It's been good. I mean, we've brought in a lot of players. We've brought in 7 so far. Just a run-of-the-mill keeper in Ward from Swindon, who wasn't even their first choice and was player/coach just to tide us over to the summer because we don't have a third choice goalie at the start of the window. We've brought in Gillespie as a left centre-back from Plymouth as part of their promotion side. Apparently has a very good left foot, but has been injured. So he's sort of finding his way back in, but seems to be a good quality addition from what you hear from Plymouth fans. But we haven't seen a lot of him yet. We've also got Reg, as he's known, or Romani Edmonds Green. He dropped down from Huddersfield, so he's again another quality addition in terms of a player down from the Championship. And he can play a number of roles, CDM. He can play centre back, right back, left back. So a real sort of unit that can sort of fit in and support the team wherever. And he looks again all right so far, but it's only 1 and a bit performances, so anyone's guess. Ladapo as well up top. We've been desperate need for a striker since we lost Lee Byrne for a season-ending hamstring injury in late September, I think that was, maybe start of October. So we've been desperately looking for somebody else, and he is adding that bit. You can tell that he's been playing off the bench and is rusty. Scored a great goal on Tuesday night, but was where are we? Saturday. Yeah, no, Saturday. Scored a great goal on Saturday, but was a long way offside. So it just sort of shows that sort of game awareness in terms of where he needed to be wasn't particularly there. Some bright patches from him so far, and Connor Coventry as well as a holding midfield player, beat off a lot of different clubs actually to sign him from West Ham as a young player coming through. He was in talks with Sheffield Wednesday, but
I think he was in talks with us as well. That name rings a bell. He was definitely linked, but I don't know whether it was just classic rumours. But
I think based on what I know about your financial position, without being too disparaging, I think the fee in total was worth £1 million. For him.
Yeah, we weren't in talks then.
So that's the final. That's the with everything added on. The rumor mill is it could be as high as that. So he'll sit in CDM. He should be back again for the game on Saturday because he was out with a concussion this week. But yeah, he looks quality so far in terms of controlling that midfield. And then we've got Backinson as well, who so far I don't particularly rate. And Fiorini, who's been a bit part bench player, has been out for 18 months injured, fits the Charlton bill perfectly. So there's a lot of players in there, midfielders, defenders, but what we don't have and what we haven't brought in is anyone that's particularly creative, that's going to make that difference before you get into the box. And obviously we've got Alfie May, and Ladapo's got a great record at this level. So there's not a problem in terms of converting those chances. But you struggle a little bit to see with the squad we've built where those chances themselves are actually going to come from. And that's, I think, what we would be looking to fix before we get to the end of the window. And if we don't do that, it's going to be a very long slog until May.
Yeah, I think you've talked about the big incoming of 7 players, and that's what you need in Charlton's position from an outsider's point of view. You need some fresh legs in, especially with a new manager coming in, and probably the option of a clean slate. I wish I could say that Derby have brought in quite a few players, but we have got a really good player in, but there's definitely some holes in our team that we haven't filled and might not fill again. I think we need to bring in a striker. I know we were linked with Michael Smith from Chef Wednesday, but that doesn't seem to be coming because of the fee that Chef Wednesday want for him to come on loan, and Derby unfortunately not being in that sort of position to be able to spend too much of a fee on a player, unless it was Corey Blackett-Taylor. It seems we seem to have got the checkbook out for him, and when we brought him in. But You mentioned it there, Alfie May. I was going to talk about the players to watch. I think it's the obvious one that stares everyone in the face when they're coming up against Charlton. Obviously, 16 goals this season in League One. Obviously, had a great season last year with Cheltenham. Derby, I know we were linked with him in the summer. What a player he is. I think he's a top player in this division, and was disappointed when we didn't manage to get him, but you can understand, can't you? He does enjoy playing down south a lot more, which is probably part of the reason. But what a top player, and is he the one to watch out for from Derby County fans' point of view?
Yeah, he will be. And he grew up in Dartford, which is a 10-minute drive from our training ground, or 15 minutes drive probably. So that was always going to be a bit of a lure for him. And one of the reasons that he actually gave on signing his way chose Charlton is that he could leave the training ground, tell his mum to put the bath on, and by the time he got home, it'd be ready. Whereas obviously coming from yourselves, it'd be stone dead cold by the time he got there. So that's obviously helped us a little bit. He's a future captain in the making for me. Talismanic, all energy, will chase people. If the crowd lulls a little bit, occasionally you hear him barking as he chases a defender down to put him off. A player that you'd hate to have playing against you and you love having on your team. But he doesn't just score goals. He's been dropping into midfield and trying to link up play as well. And he will just work and work and work. So give him an opportunity, he'll score. He looked a little bit more lively than we've seen in his run out on Saturday. So hoping that he continues getting better and better. And as he builds that partnership with Ladapo, then obviously that is going to start to work wonders for us. But yeah, he'll be the main man. The other man I would say is Louis Watson, in terms of enjoying watching a player on the ball. But for whatever reason, whether he's just awful around the training ground, I don't know. But he can't buy a start for us, and it's a real shame, because I think he is probably one of our best players, and an absolute difference maker to our team. I'd have him first name, was probably second after Alfie May, but second name on that team sheet every week if it was me. But if he comes on with any time, then just watch the way he moves the ball, and I think you'll be pleased to see sort of the quality that has come through the academy for yourselves.
Yeah, I think Louis Watson, I mean, you talked about Alfie May, and I think every Derby County fan knows how good Alfie May is. We saw it on numerous occasions last season. And then talking about Louis Watson, a player that I think we got him from West Ham's academy, and he was just at the right age to start making first-team appearances. But then obviously Derby, the off-the-field issues came in the administration season, and we had too many good players ahead of him for him to get a game. He came off the bench, I think, maybe once or twice. And he might have actually started a match as well. And he always looked lively in the academy. And then when the end of the season came, I'm not sure if there was a fee involved, but Luton picked him up, and everybody were kind of scratching their heads at that. A player who'd probably not played any first-team football, but seemed to be about to play first-team football for another championship side. And it was interesting, but it's good to see that he's performing well. It's always nice to see. I mean, probably can't class him as one of our own academy players, since he spent most of his time at West Ham before coming to us. But
I took that from you. So you've sold me down the river.
Yeah. I've sold you there, really. But no, yeah, good to see him performing well, and clearly was a talent when we had him. But just unfortunately, it was just the circumstances meant he couldn't get any game time. We've talked about the players now in form coming into this game, and you mentioned that strike force there. I mean, when that partnership clicks, that'll be a very dangerous strike partnership, Ladapo and Alfie May for sure. But we'll talk about the game now, the Charlton versus Derby County. Obviously, last season when we came to the Valley, it was about probably the second or third match, I think it was, and I think Charlton came out 1-0 winners. Derby, we missed, I think, a sitter right at the end of the game, and that was probably pretty telling of our season last season, really. But coming into it now, what's your thoughts ahead of it? I know we touched upon it earlier on in this preview, but what's your thoughts ahead of this match?
I think it's going to be a uphill battle for us. I mean, Fleming, who's our caretaker manager, worked underneath Pearson for a lot of his sort of coaching life, has come in and said, we've got to get those clean sheets back, and that's going to be the focus. And our lineup on Saturday had 6 defenders in the starting 11, so that tells you where the sort of focus is. I'd expect probably one of those to drop out from Coventry, so it'd be sort of 5 defenders, 3 midfielders, and 2 up front. But the 3 midfield are all combative, work hard. It's going to be about being really compact, being difficult to beat, and then trying to nick a goal and get that confidence back in. Once we did get a goal back on Saturday, we were in the ascendancy. We were the physical, bullying nature that we can bring with some of the players that we brought through definitely overpowered Blackpool. But I don't see that being the same story. I think the quality that yourselves have will tell, especially in those attacking areas. We're going to be very, very wary of that. So I think it's going to be a long afternoon. If you take your chances, it could be a bit of a scoreline to wince at. But if you don't take your chances, then there are goals in our team. We're definitely up there in terms of goals scored for the entire division.
Yeah, I think we're 8th in the division for goals scored at the minute. I think,
and then probably, I think second bottom for goals conceded. So it tells you what is likely to happen. There's likely to be a lot of goals at either end. But hopefully, I'm just hopeful that we can go into this month with no pressure and maybe nick a couple of results. But I just don't see it necessarily being on Saturday. I just think that we're going to be too short in with it, especially in being in between managers. There's no sort of bedding in of new ideas or anything like that. 2 defenders as coaches, it's just going to be like hang on and try and nick a point, which will be hopefully we can do.
Yeah, well, like you say, we do have 6 days to go till the game. I mean, you could have a manager through the door, and unfortunately, probably new manager bounce and all that, and it will go wrong. I think what most worries me from a Derby County fan's point of view when you talk about how Charlton are mostly going to line up is that midfield. I think at the moment from Derby County, you look at the names we've got in the midfield: Max Bird and Conor Horahan, probably really at the top of their form at the minute. Very easy players to knock off the ball at the moment. Very technically gifted. But when they're both together in that same midfield, they struggle because they're so easy to play through. They're not going to put a solid challenge in. They're not going to be that strong combative midfielder that you talk about that Charlton have at the minute. So that's an element that I'm a little worried about. I know that we like to go out wide and use the width, and Mendes Lang has been absolutely brilliant for us this season. And James Collins is sort of on form. He's one of them players which might miss an open goal when you give it him, but then maybe a minute later he might tap one into the back of the net. So he's a bit of an interesting striker. So I think we're in for an interesting game on Saturday, because I'm a little bit worried Charlton are going to have that new manager bounce if they bring someone in. That's what worries me a tiny bit.
If you could put a bet on it, I don't think there's any way that you can, but if you could, then I'd have quite a lot of my money on you scoring a cutback cross to about the penalty spot, because that's our absolute weakness. We've conceded so many goals in around the penalty spot where somebody just runs down the wing and pulls it back, and Corey's going to know that, and he's good at that type of cross. So you've got Mendes Lang on the other side, he's got that ability, and either of those midfield boys just break the line and chip it back or hold in there, then that'd be what I'd be working on all week if I was Derby. That's all I wouldn't even train anything else. Just cut back, stand on the penalty spot. That'd be where you get the joy, I'm afraid.
I think to offer Charlton fans something to think about is that obviously Derby at the moment, we've recently switched goalkeepers, which I think I'm not sure whether teams have slightly noticed it yet, but we've switched from Joe Wildsmith, who in my opinion is probably one of the best goalkeepers in the division, to Josh Vickers, who's competent at this level. Obviously been promoted with Rotherham before, because Paul Warne does love his ex-Rotherham players. I think soon we're just going to be a team of Rotherham players, to be honest, with the way that we're going. But Josh Vickers isn't very confident in the air, and I think Cheltenham sort of knew that in the fact that they push more players forward whenever a ball was whipped into the box, because Josh Vickers more often than not would punch it out, and that meant that there was always a player waiting to have another go at goal. So I think from a Charlton fan's perspective, if there's a little bit of a push forward and a late break, probably that edge of the box is going to be where the goals are going to be scored from Charlton's point of view. But now let's look ahead at what the season's going to hold. Obviously 18th in the division you spoke about, probably looking forward to next season. What's your thoughts for the seasons continue? Do you think you're going to bring someone in that's going to be a bit of more of an upwards trajectory and sort of consolidating mid-table, or do you think it's going to sort of fizzle out this season? From my personal opinion, I don't think you're going to go down whatsoever. I know the form isn't brilliant, but like you said, the players are too good to go down.
Yeah, but I never like that, because plenty of teams have technically been too good and they've gone down. So that we should bounce. We should bounce back. We should have a much better second half of the season to the first. I think we've got to sign that creative player. That is absolute, and then he needs to not get injured. That is case in point what we need to happen for the next couple of months. But what I'd like to see us doing is what Ipswich did a couple of seasons ago in terms of getting a manager in through the door who then spends a season just building a philosophy, a way of playing, working hard on the training pitch and getting those patterns established and working out, okay, where do we need to go in the summer? We spent a lot of money, so we're probably not going to be big spenders in the summer, which means that we've got to get the momentum right with this squad as they stand now. So that's what I'm hoping to see. Plenty of goals, shore up that defence. Some of these new players to come in and show their levels that we're being told that they're at. And then get the likes of Fraser and a couple of these other players out in this window who I don't think are capable of stepping up that level, and then hit the ground running next season. I think that's all it is for us this year. But absolute first and foremost, we need to get 7, 8, 9, probably, maybe even double digits clear of that bottom 3 or bottom 4, so that we've got a bit of breathing room to just go, okay, all right, now we're definitely all right. Now it's about building and where do we take this club forward? And fingers crossed we can do that very, very quickly. But then this month of February, I don't know if you've looked at our fixture list, but it is grim. We've obviously just played Blackpool. We've got yourselves, Reading at home, massive game. Lincoln, Bolton, Portsmouth, Derby. That's February. And then Northampton rounds it out for the first weekend in March. So I don't think the next month is going to be one that you're watching too much from on the sofa, more behind it. But get through February and then we'll see what March can bring.
Yeah, I think that's true. By the sounds of it, we've got a similar sort of month in March. I think we've got Bristol Rovers, Portsmouth, Bolton, Stevenage, which I'm a little bit worried. Well, I am worried about. Probably watching through my fingers for those games with my hands over my face. But no, there we go. I think that's a good point to end it on. Looking to the rest of the season. This has been the Rams Talk podcast with Joe from Charlton Live, looking to the match Charlton Athletic versus Derby County at the Valley. If you have enjoyed this, then please give us a rating on whatever you're listening on. Leave us 5 stars, leave us a review. If you haven't enjoyed it, then please do not give us a rating. That would be much appreciated. You can follow all our social medias in the description. We're very active on Twitter, Instagram. We do post a TikTok from time to time as well, if I have edited one. So it's very, very often they're not more than time to time. But if you have enjoyed this, then please give us a rating and thank you for listening.